What's good, everyone? This is the in-hand review of the Nike Foamposite All-Star 2021 Barely Green. All right, let's start by talking about the box. Now, Nike did something very special for these foams because it's in a pull-up box, whereas all the previous foams are in the standard lid box. Now, when you open the box, the next thing you notice is that it's double lined, okay? So you got a shiny paper on the outside with the standard tissue lining on the inside here. And to most people, it's like not a big deal, but to the foam heads and the sneaker heads out there, you do notice that this is something different and special that Nike did. Now, when you first see the shoe, for me, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a masterpiece because of the upper material and also the contrast with the outsole really popped and really caught my eye. Now let's start talking about the outsole. Now, Nike officially labels the colorway of the outsole as barely green, but if you want a more real life comparison of a description, it's really honeydew green. If you notice, it's just one color all the way down in the outsole with the exception of the black penny logo, and it looks great. I've also seen or heard people say that the outsole is glow in the dark, but actually that's not the case, okay? Just for comparison, these are the Foamposite Beijing Planet hoops released in 2020, and these are in fact glow in the dark outsole here. Okay, I won't get into the design of the Foamposites because it's not changed in the last 24 years, but I do want to just mention about the carbon fiber shanks. It is in the standard black color. I do want to make a comment that the glue job that Nike did wasn't very good. I have noticed that over the past few years, the quality controls on the glue job here, especially on the medial side of the carbon fiber of the foams, to be getting worse and worse compared to a few years ago, but you know, it is what it is. Now let's talk about the upper of the shoe, which I think is really the star of the foams. It is black, but it's a glossy black with this beautiful pattern. And a lot of people call this kind of a wood-like pattern or wood grain pattern. For me, it's more close to Damascus steel. And depending on how the light catches it, it really gives it a different look, a more of a dimensional look, and looks absolutely gorgeous. In a vacuum, you know, this black upper contrasting with the green sole looks spectacular, but I do have a bit of an issue with how Nike managed this release. Because if you look at the three previous releases in late 2020, beginning with the 1996 All-Stars, all black anthracite, and then the gradient soles, they're all predominantly black upper shoes. And I'm just wondering, you know, why Nike decided to do that. I don't know if they had just, you know, a bunch of black paint lying around, you know, in the factories that was about to expire. But to me, that was a miss in terms of just releasing so many black Foamposite ones consecutively. You know, when I first saw the upper and the Damascus pattern, what did it remind me of? Well, it reminded me of the abalones. Now, I know the abalones are not black. It is kind of this beautiful grayish blue base color, and it has the abalone shell pattern on it, okay? And it's absolutely gorgeous. The organic pattern of the Damascus really reminded me of the pattern of the abalones. So then let's talk about, you know, the rest of the upper here. And this is where, for this pair of All-Star 2021s, it really deviated from the standard design because this glossy Damascus upper really extends into the eyelids. And typically for Foamposite ones, the eyelids area and goes all the way to the collar will have a different color or at least different material. And for some reason, Nike decided to extend the same upper, I guess the shell material and pattern into the eyelids. What this does is give it a more monochromatic look and maybe showcases beautiful pattern more, which is fine. But at the same time, it does miss the opportunity to add more contrast and variety to the shoe. So I'm on the fence about it, but you know, from an execution standpoint, they did a very good job at it. And here we have the small Nike swoosh logo in white stitching near the toe box area. Here in the collar, the heel area of the collar, you can see that instead of the standard penny logo, they have this holographic patch. And I love when Nike does something different than their standard design, which I think further makes this shoe very special. And what's really interesting here is that this patch here references a All-Star game that didn't really happen because around it, it has the word Indianapolis All-Star. because in 2021, the NBA planned to have the All-Star game in Indiana, but because of COVID, they canceled that, instead had the All-Star game in Atlanta. Okay, so the All-Star game in Indiana never happened, but it's referenced on this shoe. And I love that quirk. And for all the collectors out there, no matter what it is, you guys will know that any item, okay, that has a quirk where it references something that didn't happen or if there's an error, typically that item's collectability goes up. So I think that really makes this shoe even more special. Now, let's talk about the tongue, okay? So on the tongue is the standard mesh material in the color black. And it has the stitching accent going up the tongue here, ending with the penny logo. And it's a very standard design. What's interesting though is that the stitching here, instead of going with a light green color or like a honeydew green color, they decide to go with just simply white. Okay, and for this part of the stitching is kind of shiny, so that's almost near a silver color. The penny logo is of a very faint green color. And then the tongue pull tab as well as the heel pull tab are black with white stitching accents. Okay, again, they didn't go with a green stitching accent, but white. Not sure why they did that. And if you look at the inner sock lining, again, it's much closer to white rather than light green. I'm not a fan of that decision because I think white will get kind of dirty really quickly. I would have preferred either they went with a green color or like a mint green color or even black. Okay, I think that would have been a better decision, but it is what it is. Finally, inside the inner sole, you have the penny logo in white. Now let's talk about the future valuation of the Foamposite All-Stars. It is my opinion that it will land somewhere between the Abalones and also the Northern Lights. Why? Well, at the end of the day, the All-Stars are a general release, so there's a lot produced, and it was not particularly hard to get, okay? So just the sheer quantity of the supply out there will suppress its value. And that was the case with the Abalones. Okay, it was a general release also around the same time of an NBA All-Star season. These actually ended up in the Nike factories and I was able to get them at a pretty good price. However, I do think that the All-Stars is a superior shoe and a superior design, so I think it's going to be worth more than the Abalones, but I don't think it's going to reach the levels or the status of the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights was also an official All-Star release and it was also quick strike, okay? And I believe you needed to do raffles to get them. So it is just simply more rare, less quantities out there. Also a gorgeous, gorgeous shoe. And so I don't think the All-Stars will get to the levels or the status of the Northern Lights, but it will be somewhere between the two. Most people say foams are dead, okay? This is 2021 and the foams are dead. Hasn't been any amount of hypes for the Foamposite in a long, long time. So what does this shoe represent for me? Well, I think it is the start of the revival because if you think about next year, 2022, it will be the 25th year anniversary of the Foamposites. And I could totally see Nike doing something big with the line. Now, for this shoe, they give it a nicer pull-out box, it's double lined. And we also know that later in this year, Nike's gonna do a collaboration with Comme des Garçons on a special pair of foams there. And so to me, it's just early indicators that Nike will be doing something big with the foams in 2022. I can't remember really the last time they did a official collab with the Foamposites. I mean, what comes to mind are obviously the Supremes, the Paranormans, also the Dornbeckers. But aside from that, there hasn't been many collabs in the past. And if you think of just the possibilities that could happen with the foams, like the Off-Whites, Travis Scott, maybe OVO, the possibilities are limitless, and I could totally see a big year in 2022. That's it for this review. Thanks for checking us out. If you're thinking about picking these foams up, I highly recommend it.